He had no money, no power, no support, but he mastered one thing most people never control, his mind, and that changed his entire destiny. In a poor and crowded part of the city, there lived a young man named Adrian whose life seemed completely controlled by failure. Every morning, he woke up with stress already filling his mind. Bills kept increasing, opportunities kept disappearing, and disappointment followed him everywhere. People around him constantly told him he would never become successful because he came from nothing. Slowly, Adrian started believing those words himself. His thoughts became his prison. Fear controlled his decisions. Overthinking destroyed his confidence. Negative thinking poisoned his motivation before he even tried improving his life. One winter evening, after being rejected from another job opportunity, Adrian sat alone near an old bridge feeling hopeless about his future. He stared silently at the dark river below him while thoughts of failure consumed his mind completely. Nearby sat an older man calmly feeding birds despite the freezing cold weather. After noticing Adrian's exhausted expression, the man asked softly, "Why have you already accepted defeat inside your mind?" Adrian looked confused before replying bitterly, "Because life keeps proving I'll never succeed." The old man smiled faintly before saying something that changed Adrian's life forever. "Your destiny follows the direction of your thoughts." Those words struck him deeply. The old man introduced himself as Marcus and explained that most people remain trapped not because life defeats them, but because their own mind defeats them first. "A weak mind creates a weak life," Marcus said calmly, "but a disciplined mind can rebuild destiny itself." Sitting there beneath the cold night sky, Adrian felt something awaken inside him for the first time in years: hope. Over the following weeks, Adrian started meeting Marcus regularly in the mornings before sunrise. During one conversation, Adrian admitted honestly, "I want to change my life, but I don't know where to begin." Marcus nodded calmly before replying, "Then begin by changing your mind." Adrian looked confused because he expected advice about money, business, or success. But Marcus explained something deeper. "Your external life reflects your internal condition," he said softly. "If your mind is filled with fear, excuses, negativity, and self-doubt, your actions will follow." Those words forced Adrian to reflect honestly on himself. He realized most of his life had been controlled by negative thinking. Before trying anything difficult, he already imagined failure. Before opportunities even arrived, fear convinced him he was not good enough. Marcus then gave Adrian his first lesson in mental mastery. Control your thoughts before they control your destiny. Every morning, Adrian began waking up early to train his mind through silence, reading, discipline, and reflection. Marcus taught him to observe negative thoughts without believing every one of them automatically. "The mind speaks constantly," Marcus explained. "Wisdom is learning which thoughts deserve your attention." At first, the process felt difficult because Adrian's mind had been filled with negativity for years. But slowly, through discipline and repetition, his thinking began changing. And as his thinking changed, his actions slowly started changing too. As months passed, Adrian became more disciplined than ever before. While most people around him wasted nights complaining about life, he spent hours improving himself quietly. He exercised every morning before sunrise, read books that strengthened his mindset, and avoided negative influences that poisoned his thinking. Slowly, Marcus taught him one of the most important truths of life. Your mind becomes whatever you feed it daily. Adrian realized that for years he had fed his mind fear, excuses, comparison, and hopelessness. No wonder his life felt trapped. But now, every disciplined habit slowly strengthened his thinking. One evening during a long walk through crowded streets, Marcus pointed toward people arguing loudly outside a shop and said softly, "Most people lose control of their life because they first lose control of their mind." Adrian understood those words deeply. He began noticing how emotions, distractions, and negative thoughts controlled human behavior everywhere. And for the first time, he realized mastering the mind was not just self-improvement. It was freedom. One rainy afternoon, Adrian faced another painful setback when a small business idea he had worked on for months failed completely. The failure crushed him emotionally. Old thoughts returned immediately. You are wasting your time. You will never succeed. Nothing ever works for you. Sitting alone inside his dark apartment, Adrian felt hopelessness trying to take over his mind again. But before giving up, he remembered something Marcus once told him. Your mind will be tested most when life becomes difficult. Those words echoed inside him deeply. Instead of surrendering emotionally, Adrian forced himself to stay calm and observe his thoughts carefully. He realized failure itself was painful, but the dangerous part was allowing failure to control his identity. The next morning, despite disappointment still hurting inside him, he got up early again and continued working. When Marcus later heard about the failed business, he smiled faintly before saying, "Good. Now your mind is learning resilience." Adrian looked confused, so Marcus explained further. Weak minds quit after failure. Strong minds become wiser because of it. That lesson changed Adrian permanently. For the first time, failure no longer felt like proof of weakness. It became training. As the years passed, Adrian slowly transformed into someone almost unrecognizable from a fearful young man he once was. His confidence no longer depended on other people's opinions. His discipline became stronger than temporary emotions. While others panicked during difficult situations, Adrian remained calm enough to think clearly. One evening during dinner, an old friend asked him curiously, "How did you change your life so much?" Adrian smiled faintly before replying softly, "I stopped letting my mind work against me." The room became silent immediately. Adrian explained how most people destroy themselves internally through constant negative thinking, fear, overthinking, and emotional chaos. But once a person learns how to control thoughts instead of obeying every thought automatically, life changes completely. The mind can either build your future, he said calmly, or destroy it before it even begins. Those words deeply affected everyone listening because they recognized how often their own thinking created unnecessary suffering. One cold winter night, Marcus invited Adrian to the top of a quiet hill overlooking the city lights below. As freezing wind moved around them, Marcus asked softly, "Do you know why most people never reach their full potential?" Adrian thought carefully before answering. "Because life is difficult?" Marcus nodded slowly before replying, "And because their mind gives up before their body does." Those words stayed deeply inside Adrian's thoughts afterward. Marcus explained that the mind always speaks first during hardship. Fear says stop. Doubt says impossible. Comfort says quit. But mentally disciplined people learn how to continue moving forward despite those voices. Mastering the mind, Marcus said calmly, means refusing to let temporary thoughts decide permanent outcomes. Adrian realized that every major improvement in his life happened only after he ignored fear long enough to keep going. And because of that understanding, his confidence became stronger than circumstances themselves. Months later, Adrian finally achieved success through years of patience, discipline, and relentless self-control. His business slowly began growing. Opportunities increased, and people who once doubted him suddenly admired his transformation. But the greatest change was not external success. It was internal peace. One evening, while sitting alone in his office after everyone left, Adrian reflected deeply on his journey. Years earlier, he believed destiny was controlled entirely by luck, background, or circumstances. But now he understood something far more powerful. The mind shapes destiny through repeated choices daily. Every disciplined action, every calm response, Every moment of self-control slowly builds a future. Looking out across the city lights beyond his window, Adrian smiled softly because he finally understood Marcus's first lesson completely now. Change the mind first, and destiny follows afterward. As Adrian entered middle age, younger people often came to him seeking advice about success, motivation, and mental strength. One afternoon, a frustrated young man admitted desperately, "I feel stuck in life no matter how hard I try." Adrian listened carefully before asking one simple question. "What thoughts do you repeat to yourself every day?" The young man looked confused because nobody had ever asked him that before. Adrian then explained how repeated thoughts slowly become beliefs. Beliefs shape actions, and actions eventually shape destiny itself. "A man who constantly thinks like a failure," Adrian said calmly, "will eventually act like one." Those words deeply affected the young man because for the first time, he realized his biggest enemy might not be life itself, but the thoughts controlling his mind daily. Paragraph 9. One autumn evening, while walking beside a peaceful lake during sunset, Adrian remembered how close he once came surrendering completely years earlier. If Marcus had never challenged his thinking, his life might have remained trapped forever inside fear and negativity. Looking at the calm water reflecting orange light beneath the evening sky, Adrian realized mastering the mind had changed more than his career or success. It changed his entire experience of life. Problems still appeared, but they no longer controlled him emotionally. Fear still existed, but it no longer ruled his decisions. Difficult moments still hurt, but they no longer destroyed his hope. The stronger his mind became, the lighter life itself felt. And in that peaceful silence beside the lake, Adrian understood something beautiful. Mastering the mind is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming stronger than the chaos inside you. Paragraph 10. In the final years of Marcus's life, Adrian visited him one last time inside a small cabin outside the city, surrounded by mountains and silence. Sitting beside a fire together late at night, Adrian asked softly, "What is the greatest reward of mastering the mind?" Marcus smiled gently before answering, "Freedom." The fire crackled quietly while Marcus continued speaking. "A man controlled by fear, anger, doubt, and negativity lives like a prisoner. But a man who masters his mind becomes free regardless of circumstances." Adrian listened silently while realizing how true those words were. Wealth alone never creates peace. External success alone never creates strength. Everything begins within the mind first. Before Adrian left that night, Marcus looked at him calmly and spoke one final truth, carrying decades of wisdom. The man who masters his mind eventually changes his destiny. And years later, long after Marcus was gone, those words continued guiding Adrian through every season of life. After Marcus passed away peacefully during the winter, Adrian felt an emptiness inside him unlike anything he had experienced before. The man who once rebuilt his entire mindset was gone, and for several weeks Adrian found himself sitting alone at night, thinking deeply about every lesson Marcus had taught him through the years. One snowy evening, Adrian returned to the old bridge where they first met long ago. The city lights reflected across the dark river below exactly the same way they had years earlier, when he was still lost, fearful, and mentally weak. Standing there in silence, Adrian remembered the hopeless young man he once used to be, the version of himself controlled completely by fear, negative thinking, self-doubt, and emotional chaos. Back then, life felt like a prison with no escape because his own thoughts worked against him daily. But now, after years of discipline and mental mastery, he realized something powerful. The greatest battle of his life had never been against poverty, rejection, failure, or difficult circumstances. The greatest battle had always been against the weak mindset living inside him. Marcus once told him, "The mind is either your greatest weapon or your worst enemy." And standing there beneath the cold winter sky, Adrian finally understood the full meaning of those words. Every major transformation in his life began the moment he stopped obeying fear automatically. Every success came after moments where he refused to let negative thoughts control his actions. The disciplined habits that once felt small, waking up early, controlling emotions, staying calm under pressure, protecting his focus, refusing negative thinking, eventually changed the direction of his entire future. Looking down at the quiet river moving beneath the bridge, Adrian smiled faintly because he understood something most people never realize. Destiny is not changed overnight. It is changed slowly through daily victories over the mind. Years later, Adrian became known across the city as a man of unusual calmness, wisdom, and mental strength. Many people admired his success, confidence, and peaceful presence, but very few understood the painful inner journey required to build that strength. One evening, during a public speech attended by hundreds of young people searching for direction in life, Adrian stood silently on stage for several moments before finally speaking softly into the microphone. "Most people spend their lives trying to change their circumstances," he said calmly, "but they never realize their circumstances often begin inside their own mind." The room became completely silent. Adrian then shared the story of his transformation. The fear, failures, loneliness, and hopelessness he once carried every single day before learning how to master his thoughts. He explained how the mind constantly creates excuses, doubts, distractions, and fear designed to keep people trapped in comfort and weakness. But mentally strong individuals learn how to observe those thoughts without obeying them automatically. "Your mind will test you every day," Adrian continued. "It will tell you to quit when life becomes painful. It will tell you to stay comfortable when growth becomes difficult. It will create fear before opportunity even arrives. And if you do not control it, your mind will quietly destroy your future without anyone noticing." Many people in the audience lower their eyes because they recognize those battles inside themselves immediately. Adrian then smiled softly before giving the final lesson Marcus once gave him years ago beneath the cold night sky. The moment you master your mind, you stop being controlled by fear, circumstances, and limitations. And that is the moment your destiny truly begins to change. After the speech ended, many people surrounded Adrian asking questions about success, discipline, and mental strength. But one quiet young man remained standing silently near the back of the room long after everyone else left. Eventually, he approached Adrian slowly and admitted in a weak voice, "I think my own mind is destroying my life." Adrian looked into the young man's tired eyes and immediately recognized the pain, because years earlier, he carried the exact same darkness inside himself. They sat together quietly near an empty window overlooking the city lights, while rain moved softly against the glass outside. The young man confessed everything: constant overthinking, fear of failure, lack of confidence, emotional exhaustion, and the feeling that no matter how hard he tried, his mind always pulled him backward again. After listening patiently, Adrian smiled faintly before asking one simple question: "How many negative thoughts do you repeat to yourself every day?" The young man became silent because he suddenly realized the answer was endless. Adrian then explained something that changed the young man forever. "Your mind believes whatever you repeat consistently," he said calmly. "If you constantly repeat fear, weakness, doubt, and hopelessness internally, eventually your entire life starts reflecting those beliefs." The young man listened carefully while Adrian continued. "Most people never notice that their thoughts become habits, their habits become actions, and their actions slowly become destiny. Those words hit deeply because for the first time, the young man understood why his life felt trapped. The battle was never only external. The real war was happening inside his own mind every single day. Late that night, after everyone had gone home and silence filled the empty building, Adrian stood alone beside the large window, watching the sleeping city beneath the dark sky. Looking at the thousands of lights glowing across the streets below, he reflected on how many people were secretly fighting invisible battles inside their own mind right now. Fear, insecurity, anger, overthinking, loneliness, hopelessness. Most people look normal externally while quietly suffering internally. And Adrian realized something important. Mastering the mind is one of the rarest forms of strength because the battle never truly ends. Every day the mind must still be trained. Discipline must still be chosen. Negative thoughts must still be challenged. Peace must still be protected. Marcus once told him years ago, "The mind is like a garden. If you do not control what grows inside it, weeds will take over naturally." Standing there in complete silence, Adrian finally understood that lesson more deeply than ever before. Success, peace, confidence, and emotional strength were not accidents. They were the result of years spent protecting and training the mind carefully. And as the first light of sunrise slowly began appearing beyond the horizon, Adrian smiled softly to himself because he knew one truth with absolute certainty now. The man who conquers his own mind eventually becomes stronger than any obstacle life places in front of him. One cold morning before sunrise, Adrian returned to the old hill outside the city, where Marcus once taught him about discipline and mental mastery years ago. The air felt silent and heavy while fog slowly covered the empty streets below. Sitting alone on the same wooden bench, Adrian closed his eyes and reflected deeply on how much his life had changed simply because he learned how to control his thoughts. Before meeting Marcus, his mind was filled with constant chaos. Fear controlled his decisions. Doubt destroyed his confidence before action even began. Negative thinking convinced him he would fail long before life ever tested him. But through years of discipline, he slowly understood something powerful. The mind always tries to choose comfort over growth. It fears risk. It avoids discomfort. It creates excuses to keep a person trapped in familiar weakness. And because most people never challenge those thoughts, they remain prisoners of the same mindset for their entire lives. Adrian opened his eyes slowly while watching the first sunlight appear beyond the mountains. He realized mastering the mind is not one single victory. It is a daily battle fought quietly inside yourself every morning. Every time a person chooses discipline instead of laziness, courage instead of fear, calmness instead of emotional reaction, growth instead of comfort, that person slowly changes their future. Looking toward the peaceful sunrise, Adrian whispered softly to himself, "The strongest battles are invisible," and deep inside he knew it was true. As the years continued passing, Adrian became more focused on teaching others than building success for himself. Wealth and recognition no longer impressed him the same way because he understood something deeper now. A peaceful mind is more valuable than external success without inner control. One evening during a small gathering, a young woman asked him quietly, "What is the biggest mistake people make in life?" Adrian remained silent thoughtfully for several moments before answering softly, "They underestimate the power of their own mind." The room became completely still. Adrian explained how thoughts shape everything slowly. Confidence, actions, habits, emotions, relationships, and ultimately destiny itself. A fearful mind creates hesitation. A negative mind creates self-destruction. A weak mind quits during difficulty. But a disciplined mind continues moving forward even when life becomes painful. Most people wait for life to change first, Adrian said calmly. But life changes only after the mind changes. Those words deeply affected everyone listening because they recognized how often they blamed circumstances while ignoring the chaos inside themselves. Before leaving that night, Adrian gave one final lesson carrying the wisdom of his entire journey. If you master your mind, you can survive almost anything. But if your mind controls you, even small problems will destroy your peace. And sitting there beneath the quiet night sky afterward, Adrian smiled softly because he finally understood the truth Marcus tried teaching him from the very beginning. Real destiny is built first inside the mind. One rainy evening, Adrian received a letter from the same young man who once told him, "My own mind is destroying my life." Inside the letter were pages filled with gratitude. The young man explained how learning to control his thoughts slowly changed everything. He stopped spending nights drowning in overthinking. He began waking up early, exercising, reading, and protecting his mind from negativity. Instead of reacting emotionally to every setback, he started staying calm enough to think clearly. The problems in his life did not disappear overnight, but his mindset toward them completely changed. Reading the letter quietly beside his window while rain tapped softly against the glass, Adrian smiled to himself because he recognized the same transformation he once experienced years earlier. Marcus had changed his mind, and now that wisdom was changing others too. At that moment, Adrian realized something beautiful. Mastering the mind does not only change one life, it creates a chain of transformation that continues long after a person is gone. Looking out across the city lights glowing through the rain, Adrian remembered one of Marcus's old lessons. A disciplined mind becomes a light in dark places. And for the first time, Adrian understood how true that really was. In the final stage of his life, Alex often sat alone watching the sunrise quietly from the hills outside the city. The world around him still remained chaotic, emotional, and unpredictable. But inside himself, there was peace. One morning, while golden sunlight slowly covered the horizon, a young stranger asked him softly, "What is the secret to a peaceful life?" Alex smiled gently before answering, "Do not let temporary emotions control permanent parts of your life." The wind moved softly around them while silence filled the morning air. Then Alex added one final truth carrying the wisdom of his entire journey. The strongest people are not those who never feel emotions, but those who learn how to remain calm while feeling everything. And as sunlight slowly illuminated the world before him, Alex closed his eyes peacefully because he finally understood the greatest victory in life was never over other people. It was over himself.